What's up, rockers? Welcome to another episode of the Talk Louder podcast, where we geek out on all things rock and roll. Hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. Leave us your likes and comments. You can also leave likes and comments on our Facebook page. Follow us on iTunes and Spotify. Also, check out our website at talklouderpodcast.com. I'm Metal Dave, along with my co-host Jason McMaster. And today, this show is for all the Saxon fans out there. And I know we've got Saxon fans out there. Yes. I think it's fair to say that our guest today is a legend. Drummer Nigel Glockler from the mighty British heavy metal band Saxon, one of the forefathers of the new wave of British heavy metal movement.
Yes.
And Nigel is going to spend some time with us today. We're not only going to talk about Saxon, but we're going to delve into other parts of his career that you may not know about. He's a great guy, a lot of fun to talk to, easygoing, full of laughs. It's always a great hang when you're with Nigel Glockler. So I'm looking forward to that today. I know Jason's spent some time with Nigel over the years. I know he's a big Saxon fan.
Yes.
You want to throw anything in here before we bring in Nigel?
The times that I've seen, I never saw Saxon without Nigel. When there were a handful of spots, as we'll soon talk to Nigel and find out when there were spots where they had another guy playing drums. Udo Dirksnyder's son actually played a few gigs. We'll talk about that with Nigel, but I saw Saxon a lot in the 80s. And then, over time, it seemed less and less, and it was spotted. I mean, like one week I'd see him at a club, and then the next week I'd see him direct support for Judas Priest.
Yeah.
And so they're one of those bands that can pack out a club, obviously, and just rage and give 110%, and then, get on a giant stage and the show is the same show, but they're not one of those bands that doesn't have to have the big, inflatable doll on stage in a club or they can't play the gig. It has nothing to do with that. They're a great, just rock and roll band, and they have a rock and roll attitude. And it's just impressive that, and you learn all this by just realizing that Nigel is this awesome, like, dude who wants to hang out and talk about rock and roll.
Yeah, he's a great guy. And growing up as I did in San Antonio, Texas, Saxon got a lot of airplay on the radio thanks to Joe Anthony, the great DJ at 99.5 KISS in San Antonio. I was very familiar with Saxon growing up because of that. My second concert, the second show I went to was Fastway, Saxon, and Iron Maiden, and I always like to talk to Nigel about that. And I also want to tell people, in case you happen to, for some strange reason, stop listening to Saxon back in the 80s or even the 90s, they've put out their last 4 or 5 albums are awesome. So you need to check those out as well, and we'll talk a little bit about those albums in the episode with Nige. And he's an honorary Texan. We'll touch on that. And so I think we should let him have the floor. Ladies and gentlemen, let's bring him in. Nigel Glockler from Saxon. And here he is, ladies and gentlemen, all the way from England, Mr. Nigel Glockler, drummer extraordinaire from Saxon. How are you, man? It's good to see you.
Good, and you. You too. Man. I just want to say I've just eaten the fastest dinner in my life.
Because it is dinner time in England right now. Yeah. We just finished lunch. You just finished dinner. That's the time difference between Texas and England, I guess.
Someone might ask a question. I mean, I'm fairly interested. What did you have for dinner this evening?
Nah.
It wasn't that great, or no?
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, I had some like sort of smoked pork sausage and some sort of cheesy broccoli thing, so.
That sounds great.
Sounds hearty.
And some jalapeno mustard.
So
Very Texas of you.
You still have some Texan left in you. That's good.
Hold on a second.
Jalapeno, was it habanero? I can't remember. It's pretty damn hot.
Well, I was going to bring this up. You know, a lot of people don't know that a member of Saxon is also a member of, like, you're a Texan.
He's an honorary Texan.
You're an honorary Texan, if not Texan. You married a Texan, and then you moved to Texas.
Yeah,
that's pretty much enough for me.
Yeah. No, that was cool. We were there for like what, 3.5 years, something like that. So 4 years.
It was fun to just be able to tell my friends that, did you know the drummer for Saxon lives in Austin? It is a fact. And they were like, no, those guys are from fucking England. They're untouchable. I go, no. You'd be surprised.
No.
You'd be surprised.
He was in my kitchen yesterday.
Saxon are people too.
More cowbell.
Cowbell. I speak the truth. Nigel came over to my house one time, and not only was it fantastic to have him over, he brought beer, and the beer that he brought was called More Cowbell.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, you can just imagine what a good time that led up to.
Whoa.
Wow.
So let's do the timeline a little bit. You obviously you're from England. You married a Texan. You're no stranger to Texas through all your touring, and then you moved to Texas. Lived here for about 3 years, although you were on the road quite a bit during that time. Yeah. And then more recently, about a year and a half maybe now, you moved back to England. And I think the plan originally was you were going to go back to England because it made more sense to be over there while you did a lot of the touring during the summer festival season. And then COVID happened. And that's kind of where it stopped. And do you still have plans to come back to Texas? Because I think
we're still looking at it. You know, as I say, COVID screwed everything up.
Yeah.
We had postponed shows and stuff like this, and so we'll see. Once we get the next round of touring done, we'll take it from there.
Yeah. And one of the things I always thought was interesting about Nigel is you don't often find a native, a British guy who absolutely loves the Texas heat.
Oh, yeah.
He has no problem with it. I'm a native Texan and I can't stand it. But this guy, he's like a lizard.
Are you burned out on the colder months over there, or
we've had a heat wave here?
Oh shit!
What's a heat wave in England?
Hey, no, it's been like 32. Over here,
Celsius.
Yeah, 32, which is what? 32, 60, 90 something. Yeah,
90.
Late 80s, early 90s. Yeah.
Oh,
we've had this for 2 weeks, I think, something like. And it's only just broken today, but I think we've got another one coming in about a week or so.
Well, you have to be loving that.
Yeah, but there's a big difference, though.
Oh, okay, tell us.
I was talking to Gina about. There's a big difference. It is at least over there. You've got AC in the houses.
Yes.
Right. So you're nice and cool inside, and you go outside. Oh yeah, this is great. This is hot. Here it's just like sweltering in and out. So that's been a bit heavy.
I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, I guess there's no need for air conditioning in England most of the time.
Yeah,
no,
you probably can't. Even especially in the off season, you probably just can't motor down to the hardware shop and get you a window unit and stick it in there and plug it in.
No, you don't.
I don't think
that I know of. No, you just haven't got anything like that here, really.
Right.
People go out and buy fans and stuff, but basically all a fan does is just blow the hot air around.
Yeah, that's right. So a lot of the
about as useful as an ashtray and a Force 8 Gale. It's like.
I was going to say, a lot of the northern parts of the northern U.S., a lot of those older houses don't have central air.
Yeah.
They don't have air conditioning because it stays cool. The summers are not. They might have one room that has a window unit in, but they don't have central air at least. So
yeah.
No, I mean the other thing. I mean the place we're renting at the moment has got a conservatory, but it's got like a sort of like a glass stroke, sort of like one of these polycarbonate roofs. So it's all glass, and then on the top you go in there, it's like God Almighty. It's like sitting there sweating.
Too much.
Well, if you ever do get back to Texas, you'll be perfectly conditioned for it then, I guess. Yeah.
I'll probably, be walking around wearing a coat all the time. It's cold.
Your blood might even be starting to thin because of you had a little bit of a trial run, 3 years or so in the heat. Your blood's probably just started to settle because you got thicker blood when you're English.
When you're in the cold. Yeah.
All right. Enough about weather. Let's tell us a little bit.
Rock and roll. Yeah.
What's the next forecast? No, anyway, go on.
What can you tell us about the latest news with Saxon? Are you writing? Is there a new album on the horizon? Are tour plans starting to shape up? Bring us up to date on Saxon.
Right. Well, there is. There is a new album is coming out. I think the pre-orders are happening in October, I think, but the new album's generally going to be released in January, February next year.
Okay.
And funnily enough, it was a couple of weeks ago, I just finished writing some sort of keyboard intros for a couple of tracks. Doing that. So it's all been mixed now. I think it's been passed off, so it's in the hands of the record company now.
So it's as far as the writing and the recording, it's done. It's in the can.
It's all done.
Do you have
ready to go? I mean, initially, we did the covers album.
Yeah.
Right. Initially, for this year, originally that was going to be the release date for this album.
Oh,
but because of the COVID thing, and the record company didn't want to release it until we can tour,
right?
Which is why you go on tour anyway.
Sure.
And so they said, "Why don't you do a covers album?" So that's what we did, and so it gave us, obviously with the time for the recording of the covers album and everything, it gave us time for this year to finish off any bits, and maybe hone a few things down for this new original album.
Right. Yeah. So is the covers album out? Just to be clear.
It came out January, February. Yeah.
Oh, damn. Yeah. Okay. All right.
It's called Inspirations, correct?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about that. Give people a sample of what songs you covered, and for you personally, which ones were your favorites, or which ones did you add to the mix?
I mean, everyone put ideas in. I mean, the end result was we did "Paint It Black" of Stones song. We did "See My Friends," which was like a bit of a psychedelic Kinks song. I put in, even though it wasn't their own song, I put in "Evil Woman" by Black Sabbath.
Oh yeah.
I love that first album.
Sure.
And what else did I put in? I put in, which actually isn't on the album, but it's on the B side of a single, "One Last Cold Kiss" by Mountain.
Oh yeah.
I just love Mountain. I'm trying to think what else we did. The Rocker, Thin Lizzy.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Shoot UFO. That was a B-side.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you got a UFO T-shirt on there. Yes. Yeah, I see. Yes. So yeah, it was quite an interesting thing to do. And we did "Bomber" by Motorhead.
Oh my God, this is getting better and better. Literally a rainbow of classics.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some surprises. Is Toto on that record?
Oh yeah. We did "Hold the Line." Toto.
Yeah.
That's
a great song. Yeah.
In fact, that's, funnily enough, that's the one in all the reviews that people have been raving about
because they weren't expecting it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I've always loved that song. And I know your wife Gina is a huge Toto fan, and
a big Picaro fan.
Yeah. And I've heard your version of it, and you guys pull it off well. So no wonder everybody's talking about it in the press. That was great.
And I mean, you were asking about touring as well. I mean, sort of stuff's being lined up. We're looking at tours next year and stuff. So hey, nice mug there.
You like that?
And I've got one just like that.
All the cool kids. All the cool kids have one, Nigel.
Hold yours up so we can be the Three Stooges. Notice I didn't say the Three Musketeers. I wouldn't go that far.
Nigel does have a Talk Louder mug.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. And so that's all being lined up. But I mean, the first thing we've got gig-wise, I mean, we're still waiting to see. We're meant to be playing this festival over here in the UK in the middle of August called Bloodstock.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
3 or 4 day festival. We're on just before Judas Priest.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
So they're headlining the last day, and we're on just before them. But again, with the COVID thing, we don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I think it's going to be, you know, maybe a week before, 2 weeks before, we'll know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know another one, the Steelhouse, which is another festival we've done. I think that happened
This
yesterday,
weekend.
I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got a friend that's over there. Stephen Blackmore is over there in a little pop-up tent. I think he went out there and camped for 2 or 3 days. It's
good. Well, I hope the weather was all right, because every time we've played there, it's absolutely bucketed down.
I have a feeling Stephen doesn't care. He's just happy to be out seeing some live rock and roll.
Isn't Stephen from Manchester?
Yes, he is. Stephen Blackmore from Manchester.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then next year, you know, we've got the postponed 40th anniversary, the 3 UK shows. We've got them happening in January.
Okay.
And then after that, then we hit the road.
So fingers crossed.
That's the plan. So let's see what happens, you know.
Great.
Yeah.
Do you have any working title of the new record?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm allowed to tell you yet.
You don't have to. I was just wondering if there was a chance. That's good. So
there's a couple being bandied about, but I think there's, I don't want to say anything.
No, you don't have to. We're not going to do that. We don't really beg here. We might prod, but we don't beg. So I just want to throw. It's not random because it's all about Nigel, but I know you replaced Pete.
Yeah.
In I'm going to guess 81.
Yeah.
Okay. So
end of 81.
Yes. Okay. So I've always, even though, I mean, when I listen to, you know, I'll just say the old stuff, pre-Nigel, yet I still I still count you in as an original member of Saxon. And that just happens because you've been in the band longer than anybody else in Saxon other than Biff probably combined. You know,
Biff and Paul.
Yes, correct. But I mean, you pretty much you haven't been the new guys in a long time.
Yeah.
You haven't been the new guy in the band.
Actually. Yeah.
In a long time.
Funny enough, a lot of people sort of look at me as the original drummer.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. And you know what? And I'm saying that's fine. I mean, that's actually kind of a thankless compliment, right? Because you've been in the band with such tenor and have helped write songs and have brought a lot to the table. And I don't even remember if Pete got any writing credit or if he was involved other than just play the songs.
Yeah, I don't know how involved he got with. I've no idea.
Okay, but it just seems your tenor in the band has cowered over his involvement. With no disrespect to Pete, by giving.
No, he was great. I mean, his playing was great on those albums.
Yes,
you know?
Yes, and I saw him. With Motorhead in '84. So that's my only time I ever got to see Pete play. But I was extremely happy to meet you on my 18th birthday in 1982 in Austin, Texas.
Okay.
I think I met you the day before you met your wife.
What, in San Antonio?
Yeah, I met you in Austin. I think you guys were in San Antonio the next night supporting Molly Hatchet.
That's right. And that same night I met Dave McClain as well.
That's right.
That's right.
That's exactly right. So it's a historical moment in my fandom as a Saxon fan. I have one more thing to piggyback. Was it that tour that these little kids in Los Angeles opened for Saxon at the Whiskey? Is it the same tour?
It was the same year. Because I mean, we kept coming back. Maybe it was the same tour. I can't remember. I'll tell you why. Because 82 we had Molly Hatchet. Right. And then I think we kept going back to England, coming back, but we jumped on. We were doing gigs with Triumph,
right?
Rainbow.
Okay. So the first time you played the Whiskey with Saxon was
That would have been 82. I'm pretty, yeah.
Okay, so some little skinny kids.
You're talking about, I know who you're talking
and
about.
Metallica opened
Yeah.
for you guys.
When Dave was still in them then, yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
It was, and I think James was just the singer. I think he just sang. You know,
okay.
Yeah. They may have had a second guitarist named Lloyd Grant.
Right.
It's arguable that that was Metallica's very first show, and they had to like beg to get on the bill.
I think in Metallica history, it goes down as the first night that Metallica opened for either an international, quote, national act, an act bigger than a local band.
Right.
And they were opening for Saxon, and that was their first, oh my God, we've made it. We're playing with somebody big.
Well, they were playing with someone who they adored.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a big deal to everyone.
Absolutely.
It's a big deal to just rock fans everywhere.
I'm pretty sure when we played that as well, I'm pretty sure Motley Crue came up to our dressing room as well.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure it was then, because I know they came up. I don't think they might have just released their first album, or
no, they did.
That's about the same time.
They came up to the dressing room to say hello, you know. So
that's cool. That's back when they were good.
I mean, that was killer. Those 2 nights were absolutely killer because we did 2 shows.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah,
and 2 shows a night, and that was like woof, 2 full sets.
Well, Metallica, all they did was Diamond Head covers. I think they did a Sweet Savage cover,
right?
6 or 7 Diamond Head songs, and
okay,
maybe a Motorhead song, and then I think they had 2 originals, Hit the Lights and probably Mechanics, which later turned into Four Horsemen. Anyway, I wanted to bring that up and just kind of throw that in the air because I think.
I mean, also that year we were with there was, as I said, there was Triumph, Molly Hatchet, Triumph, Rainbow, and Cheap Trick.
Huge.
Oh man,
that's a big deal.
So we were like jumping all over the place. We used to do about 3 or 4 shows with Triumph, and then I think we did a load of shows with Cheap Trick, and then suddenly we came back to England, I think, and then we went out again and ended up doing a couple more shows with Triumph, and it was bizarre,
So, had you toured the United States prior to joining Saxon?
No.
Okay, so your first experience coming to America is as the drummer for Saxon, and as a British guy coming to America, what was your first impression of this country when you got here? Because I always ask.
I think our first gig I think was Minneapolis, and all I remember, I mean, checking and thinking, I'm in the States now, checking into the hotel. And then, of course, with jet lag, I was awake at about 4 o'clock in the morning, wandering around this strange hotel, wondering where the hell I was. And my first impression was because it was like January, and then, like, the bloody snow was like about 8 foot up on the side of the road. So I was like, geez,
Yeah.
So much for palm trees and bikinis,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I like snow, but geez, it's like, God.
You remember where was it? Were you guys on a little theater tour, a club, large clubs, or?
No, it was a theater. It was Molly Hatchet.
Oh, so it was the Molly Hatchet tour.
Molly Hatchet in Minneapolis, I think it was. Yeah.
Okay. So, but it was like once you would do a leg with Molly Hatchet, for example, did you play through and some, you played 2 nights at the Whiskey? Were you doing stuff like that in between?
Generally, no. As far as I can remember, there weren't on the Molly Hatchet tour. I mean, I may be wrong. I'm trying to think. Geez, I mean, this is like ages ago.
We're going to move forward.
I don't think we were doing any club gigs as such.
Okay.
So the tour I need to bring up is the Power and the Glory tour, because it's your first studio album with Saxon. You made your first appearance on a Saxon album on the live album, The Eagle Has Landed.
Yeah.
And you had been touring with Saxon, but your first studio album as an official member with a studio album was The Power and the Glory.
Yeah.
And I saw you on that tour. It was my second concert ever. And the bill was, you were sandwiched between Fastway and Iron Maiden on the Peace of Mind tour.
Yeah.
And to this day, that may still be one of the best triple bills I ever saw. and all these years later, it's just I still kind of pinch myself even today as we're sitting here talking. I'm like, I can't believe I have this guy's phone number, and so all my friends from high school are pretty jealous of this. So I wanted to know, I wanted to ask you what you remember of that tour, because that album and that tour seemed like Saxon was primed to break America and move on to the next level. So share a little bit about that time frame, that album.
It was a great tour. It was a great bill. And I mean, in the charts at the time while we were touring, our album and their album was doing this in the US charts. Mm-hmm. And it was like, I mean, we were going down a storm. I mean, a lot of people say at some shows we were absolutely smoking them. You know? I mean, I like Iron Maiden. I know Steve and Nico really well. They're good friends, and everything. So, but I mean, we were a few gigs, we were smoking them, definitely. But I think the problem was that we weren't, whether it was our agent or someone, we weren't on the whole tour. I think if we'd done the whole tour, we would have broken.
So
we were starting to make really good headway, and then we left.
Is this a classic case of the label pulling the band off the road to try and get another album out when you're still trying to capitalize on the momentum of touring?
No, I don't think it was. I think it was the fact that, to be quite honest with you, I'm not quite sure what went down. I have a feeling it was we weren't confirmed for the whole tour.
Right. Okay.
That's unfortunate. When you're.
It was, because I mean we could have definitely broken off that.
Well, if you're looking at it from a numbers standpoint, the greatest thing that would have happened is that deal would have been confirmed for the whole leg, for the whole thing, because you're introducing yourself to Iron Maiden fans, and maybe there's people, the simpatico and the yay, we're all bros and whatever. That's great. By the way, I want to mention with Fastway and you guys and Maiden, to me, that's almost like a heavenly dessert of new wave or British heavy metal.
Yeah.
When you kind of think about historically as a fan, and you're an American and you only hear about these legendary bands that started this movement in the late 70s and then just kind of climbed out of the shitholes of England and like take over the world with heavy metal. That was the place to be. That show had, you got Fast Eddie. It's incredible.
That was a great tour. It was brilliant. Yeah. And it's frustrating when you think, we could have. I can't remember who joined after us. I think some band beginning with M or something. I think I can't remember who it was, but no, that was really frustrating. That.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it was a mind blower, and I'm many years older today, and I still talk about that bill, and it's etched in my brain. And as Jason says,
me and David didn't know each other, but we were both at that show.
Yeah, we didn't know each other at the time, but then comes Crusader, and Crusader did sort of make a mark in America. So talk a little bit about that. A slightly different sounding album to my ears, maybe. So was that intentional, or was that just the natural evolution of the band at that time?
No, I mean the band was just writing as we wrote. So it's almost like you can, when we play Crusader live, it just sits along Power and the Glory sound wise because it's the band. You know.
Sure.
I think a lot of it we were getting a bit of. Our manager was like sort of pushing us a bit to maybe check. He was looking at us to break America.
Yeah.
He thought, well, maybe we should use this other producer and stuff, which was a big mistake. I mean, Kevin Beamish was a really nice guy, but he wasn't. He was the wrong guy for us, totally.
Yeah. Totally. Well, I think a lot of Americans.
If Jeff Glixman, I would have liked to have heard Crusader with Jeff Glixman producing it again, who did Power and the Glory.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he was great. He was great to work with. And I think it was, it got a bit sort of, I think we were maybe getting a bit pushed and influenced, because you had all these other bands doing, ballads and stuff. They said, oh yeah, write a ballad. And it was like, and Kevin Beamish was like doing, oh, let's do a load of backing vocals, and it was like, what, you know?
This isn't.
But you think these people are like sort of, well, you know, yeah, maybe they, you know, they know more than we know.
Right.
So you go with it.
Yeah. Well, for American audiences, and I think even to this day, I think a lot of people hold Crusader up as an equal to Power and the Glory in many respects. Yeah, it's a well regarded record. It maybe didn't quite have the same, I don't know, heavy metal fire as Power and the Glory.
Exactly.
Maybe a little polish.
Yes.
But definitely one of the standout albums in the Saxon catalog.
As long as and I think you guys will concur, the idea behind what I feel about Saxon is the anthem. You guys have the anthem. Crusader is an anthem.
Oh, yeah.
And Power and the Glory is an anthem. It's faster, but it's still a fucking anthem.
Yeah.
It's like those. It's like those deep cuts on Judas Priest record. They write anthems.
They do.
United is an anthem. Take on the World is an anthem. Yeah. You guys and Priest have that. That's why you guys are such a great team.
Yeah.
You guys and Priest, because you guys have that. Even when you're doing something different, people are still going, I know why I wear these guys on my sleeve as a fan. And I think that's it. It's not maybe someone talked you into doing a ballad. It's not that the fans walk away from. I highly doubted that someone bought your record because they heard the ballad that you did. Right.
Totally agree. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, not that it's a bad song, but it wasn't really us, you know.
No one's even saying that. That's not even a contest. I'm just saying what people walk away from. They're carrying a torch. They're not crying, holding the flower.
You know, I guess, you know, the females in the audience used to love it when we play that, you know. On that tour, I think we only played it a few times actually on that tour, and then, you know.
Here's the deal, not just the females. I really think that if it's a good song is a good song, and it's I know, of course I know what you mean. It's could be aimed that way. It could sway it that way if you think too hard about it, but I don't think so.
It was like, you know, it was like that song Northern Lady off Rock the Nations. Same thing. When we used to play that in the States, they're going mad.
Yeah.
But that was a heavier song. It wasn't, you know, there weren't so many damn backing vocals on it and stuff.
Right.
It
didn't have
it was
all
rawer. Even though it was a ballad, it was more raw.
Yeah, it didn't have all of the sweetener. Didn't have all the sugar poured on top. Right.
So speaking of Northern Lady, I wanted to ask you the album "Rock the Nation" that song appears on. That Northern Lady features Elton John. Is that right?
That's right.
And Elton is on a second song on that album called "Party Till You Puke."
That's right.
Which to me doesn't sound like a Saxon song. It sounds like a Quiet Riot or a Steel Panther song or whatever. But you're obviously having some fun with it.
Yeah, we recorded that album in Holland in Whistleroad Studios, and there was another studio there, and Elton was in there with all his band. And it was great. Actually, it was through that I became really good friends with Charlie Morgan, who was drumming with Elton at the time. And but it was like Elton's band and Elton were in our studio all the time listening to us. It was like we had to keep going, do your own work, you know.
Wow.
Wait a minute. You're shooing Elton John out of your studio?
Kind of, yeah.
Get out of here, Elton. We're trying to work.
And he sort of said, I'd like to play on a couple of things. So he got his roadie to wheel in his electric grand piano, you know.
Wow.
And there we go. It was great. We had great fun there. I mean, he was hilarious, you know.
Oh my God. I can only imagine.
Jason's a huge Elton John fan.
I can't believe this because it wasn't even on my mental block of questions that I wanted to throw into this fire here that we're having, but holy shit, that I actually almost forgot, and then you brought it up just now and I started reeling. So the fact that you guys are in there and Elton's hanging, his whole band, was Davy Johnstone there?
Yeah, he was there. Yeah.
Holy
Yeah, they were
Christ.
coming in and out in like, sort of couple and 3 or 4. The whole band wasn't in there at once, but I mean, it was like they were nosing in. I mean, we had a great laugh. Dinner time at the studio.
I can only imagine. I would have wanted
we used to eat at the studio, and it had this huge sort of conservatory, which was like the restaurant place. So there were, both bands were there, and there was a third studio with I can't remember that. It was a Dutch keyboard player. I think he plays with a band called Kayak, and he was in there doing some programming and stuff. And so, but it was just great fun. And we'd ordered this this sort of Indonesian rice table, which so they just bring. It's almost like a buffet.
Right.
All comes in, in those metal containers, like takeout.
Yeah, like a catering.
They have all loads of that. Yeah. So we'd all be there drinking beer because there was a bar. It was great. The atmosphere was just brilliant,
Oh man.
What year was that?
It was hilarious. There was a really funny story because, apart from a couple of people, it was all Brits.
Yeah.
So we had a couple of crew with us. Elton had a few crew with him. So we're all sitting in there, and I think it was the Soccer World Cup.
Mm.
And I think we'd had a bit of a thing. There was something going on. I can't remember what it was, but it might have been to do with the Argentina sort of hand of God, Maradona or whatever, which was the big, where he tricked the referee and actually threw the bloody ball in the net. It's called the hand of God, and he knocked England out of the World Cup.
Oh.
But there was something like that. Something went down anyway, and this guy walked in who was a friend of the barman, the bar star there, and he walked in a full Argentina football strip, and as 20 to 30 Brits just looked round at him. He wasn't there long.
I bet he wasn't.
No, he wasn't there long.
If looks could kill, he would have been dead in 10 steps.
Oh yeah. Would have been like a Tesla coil. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, like X-Men shit.
Tell us about, speaking of good times, tell us about the tour you did with Motley Crue. What year was that? What album were you on? And
Motley Crue were on their Shout at the Devil.
Okay.
So what album would we have been on? What year was that? I can't remember what damn year it was.
Shout was 83.
83.
Was it?
Yeah. So I guess you're on Power and the Glory?
So maybe it was like we did that after the Maiden tour, maybe. Okay. Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, no, that was good fun. That was great fun.
I'm sure.
It was something. They were a great band live.
Yeah, you told me one time that at that period in time, Nikki Sixx was running around biting people on the arms, or
no, me and Nick, actually, I used to get on with Nikki great. Actually, I found him the most personable of the lot. Actually,
yeah.
We started. I don't know who started it, but we started having this arm punching competition.
That's what it was.
You just punch the same place. So it gets, and I beat him. This went on for about a week, I think. And yes, it was just one day I went down, and I think it was lunchtime or dinner time, and he was in the restaurant at the hotel. I said, come on, let's have it. And he went, no more.
Well, of course you beat him. You're a drummer, and he's a skinny dude from, LA.
He was a nice guy. I got on, I found him the most personable. But it was great because, the last gig of the tour, I can't remember who. I think it was just me and Dobby. I think we sort of got a bit dressed up as women, And
you guys did?
Yeah. Just put a bit of lipstick on, and stuff, and like charged up on stage for one of their songs. I can't remember. Oh, She's Got Looks That Kill or something. So I was singing backing vocals with Nicky at his mic. It was great. We had a great laugh.
Good times. Good time.
So then there's a point where that you leave Saxon for a number of years, and during that time, I don't think a lot of people know about this, so I want to spend a few minutes on this. You actually did some work with Asia, is that right?
Well, that was later. The first thing was I joined GTR with Steve Howe.
Okay, right.
That was the first thing. And so he went. Their first album had been pretty successful in America.
Yeah.
And everywhere. So, and originally Steve Hackett was in the band, but he left. So Steve, but I went over and had a blast with them, and we went straight in the studio. Well, started writing stuff, and started recording the second album. And Jeff Downes was producing, which leads us to the Asia thing.
Okay.
We just about nearly finished the second album, and then the record company pulled the plug.
Okay.
I think there was, I don't know whether there was some, because I wasn't signed, so I think only Steve was the only one signed, I think. So I think maybe there was some sort of politics going on somewhere. I've no idea, but we kept getting messages from the record company saying, it's a bit too art rock stroke proggy. Can you make it a bit more commercial? So that would happen. And then they go, no, we want it back the other way. And it was like, you were like, And it was pretty good. I mean, the album has actually come out in an unmixed form. I don't know who got hold of the tapes, but it has been, you can get hold of it, but it sounds pretty dreadful because it's totally unmixed. But, for those sort of completists, it is out there, the second album.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, it was a shame because if we'd had all the time to do it, to finish it off, it would have been great, But then straight after that, well, a little while after that, Steve was, he'd been asked to play on this album, Guitar Speak, which was, I think, Miles Copeland's label. Mm-hmm. And so it was all different. Steve was doing a track on it. I think Ronnie Montrose did a track on it, Leslie West. It was just all name guitarists doing a track.
Right.
So he asked me to play on his, so that was great. And then I did 2 more tracks with him for a solo album for him. And then I got the call from Asia.
Yeah. Did you record anything with Asia that like charted? What album were you on?
Aqua.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
So what's the timeline on that? When did that album come out?
91, I think it was.
Okay, so it's obviously after Asia.
I think, was it 91? Yeah, I mean, it was John Wetton had left, so it was the other singer, John Payne.
Oh, okay.
So he was on it. That was the first album with him on it. So I did, I think it was 3 tracks on Aqua, and then I did about another 5 or 6 tracks, which appeared on a couple of compilation albums later.
Yeah, I always thought that was an interesting footnote in your career because Asia, of course, had massive success here in America on the debut album. Of course, by the time you're in the band, it's a slightly different band. And
yeah.
But I always thought it was interesting that you were part of that project because Carl Palmer was the drummer in Asia previous.
Yeah.
And he's widely regarded as an excellent drummer. So they're obviously looking for a great drummer, and you obviously fit the bill. So I thought that was really cool.
And plus the fact it was really convenient for me because they were recording here in my hometown.
Oh, well, there you go.
Right. That was a doddle,
Yeah, but also I think Dave's right is they knew they needed someone who, Carl Palmer. Well, Nigel can do it. Yeah, I can do it. So
there was me on it. I think Simon Phillips was on a couple of tracks, I think. So
yeah.
It was a bit of a mixture,
Slouches need not apply.
Yeah, you were in there with other badasses, is what you're really.
No, I mean, it was great. We were actually the tracks I did. Well, I did some tracks earlier on, which I did up in London, but that was basically just with Jeff, actually, and. But they ended up on these Asia compilations. I think Jeff got them out and John sang on them and blah, blah, blah. But no, we did the recording actually in an old Methodist church. It was great,
Wow.
It was really cool.
So now, before Saxon, you were playing with Toyah.
Yeah.
And American audiences are probably not familiar.
I'm not. I'm about to get schooled.
Yeah. Okay. And probably a bunch of our listeners. So pay attention, kids.
Shit, I'm paying attention.
Yeah. Here comes your history lesson. So Nigel, prior to joining Saxon, was in a band called Toyah that was actually very popular in the UK and maybe elsewhere in Europe. I don't know if that's accurate.
I mean, it was the UK mainly.
Okay. And so for those who don't know, Toyah was led by a female singer. I assume she goes by the name Toyah. Is that?
Toyah, yeah. She's married to Robert Fripp.
Right. She's married to Robert Fripp from King Crimson.
Yeah.
And
I'll give them a little plug there. If you go on YouTube, they've got Robert and Toyah's Sunday Lunch.
Yes.
Videos on YouTube, and they do all these cover versions, and they are hilarious.
They're hilarious. Yes. Yeah. And they share them on Facebook as well. And I've seen a few.
I might have seen one of those and not realize what the fuck I'm watching.
Yeah. It's Toyah and Robert Fripp.
Yeah.
So Nigel, you're going to have to forgive me in my ignorance as an American, but Toyah, to me, from what little I know, it was, if I was going to explain this to people that aren't familiar, and I don't want to oversimplify it, so I want you to correct me, but I almost view Toyah, without having listened to a lot of the music, as almost sort of a cross between, say, Blondie meets Missing Persons with maybe a little bit of Cabaret thrown in. Am I in the ballpark or not at all?
Yeah, I guess I'd add a bit of Susie and the Banshees as well.
Ah, okay. There you go. So that
kind of thing. We were both bands were sort of happening around that period. So.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Susie and the Banshees makes sense. So you're pretty big, and you've got a pretty good gig with Toyah when you get the call from Saxon. So what convinces you to jump ship at that time? Because you're doing pretty well with Toyah.
Oh yeah, we were actually bigger than Saxon at the time.
Right.
But I was always like sort of, I guess I was always, I hate this sounds an awful term, but I guess I was a bit more of a rocker at heart, you know?
Sure.
I enjoyed the Toyah stuff because it really made me think percussion wise of things, because I was listening to I listen to a lot of stuff now, but at that time I was listening to a lot of bands, you know, like new wavy art rock bands like Japan and all that sort of thing. And I was really interested in the percussion drumming side of all this. So that was a great outlet. But then again, I was listening to Rush, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, hang on, you know.
Well, in Toyah, did you have double kicks?
No.
Okay.
I could have done, actually, funnily enough, because it was almost like the new wave thing. It was absolutely forbidden to have double kicks, you know. It was almost
hold on.
Kicks only, you know.
Well, I
had a load of toms. I had 8 toms.
I was going to say, yeah.
Dave mentioned Missing Persons, and he had double kicks.
Yeah, he did. That's true. That's true.
He had double kicks, and he used the shit
about it. I should have had double kicks.
Mental hopscotch. He's like thrashing that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I love Missing Persons.
Oh my god, I
love watching the US festival. You know,
yes. Oh my god, especially that song Mental Hopscotch, because they're playing everything faster. I think they have a time constraint. The wind is blowing and they're just thrashing it. Oh, that's great. So awesome.
If I could go back, then I'd have double kicks. Because funnily enough, after I left, Simon Phillips joined.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
Wow.
Double kicks.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
But basically, I almost, without the double kicks, I had like the sort of Terry Bozzio setup. I had 8 rototoms. You know, that was the thing, a regular kick drum, but 8 rototoms. I just like the look of it, you know.
That is the early 80s setup. The guy, Rob Hunter and Raven had the rotos, and he had the double kicks.
Yeah, a lot of people started using rotos, actually. A bit later on, it was like Mike Mangini when he joined Extreme.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he had rotos.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, but no, I think if looking back on it now, it was, as I say, it was a great thing because, you know, I was listening to all this stuff like Susie and the Banshees and all these things. I really loved what they were doing with the drums and stuff. Budgie, who was Susie's drummer, great drummer, brilliant, you know.
Yeah.
But then again, as I said, you know, I was listening to rock music. I always remember Phil, the bass player in Toyah. I introduced him to Rush.
Yeah.
You know,
Good
and
for
he
you.
was like, moving pictures. I think, was it moving pictures? I think it was moving pictures. And we even talk about it now. They said, thanks for introducing me to them.
It would have been, if it was like 1980, then it would have been moving pictures.
Yeah, it was 1981.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And I'd crash at his place, when we were doing Toyah rehearsals and stuff. Yeah. And we'd just stay up all night drinking beer and bloody listening to Rush. It was just great,
There were
all that sort of stuff,
1980, 81, there were a lot of young people staying up all night drinking beer, listening to Rush.
Damn right.
So you've told the story before, but for our listeners, if you could kind of give us the quick version of it. You get the phone call from Saxon. You're entertaining the idea of leaving Toyah, joining Saxon, and you had about 15 minutes to prepare for a gig. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a bit more than that. But originally, I was still living with my parents. So it was Sunday, and I got a call from one of the managers, who incidentally was the bass player in my first professional band.
Wow.
Okay.
And he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "You know what I'm doing?" He said, "Yeah, but what are you doing now?" And I said, "I'm just about to have Sunday lunch with my mother and father. Why? What's up?" So he told me, he said, "Pete Gill, this was Sunday." And he said, "Yeah, Pete Gill had injured his hand or something and couldn't play. And Saxon had a gig on the Wednesday. They were starting a tour on the Wednesday."
Wow.
And could I do it? Because I used to do a lot of session work as well. And with session work, you have to work fast, to learn stuff.
Right.
And so I said, well, he said, "We've tried other people. We can't get hold of no one." I said, "Use me as a last resort." I know damn well what he did. He just sat by his phone for half an hour, rang me back and said, "You're on," I know exactly,
That's
so I said, "Okay, we have to hang on a minute." Okay, so I had to drive up to London, picked him, went to his place, picked him up, and then we drove up north of London where Saxon were rehearsing in an old disused cinema.
Oh, that's cool.
And I always remember the atmosphere was a bit like sort of, woe is me, oh God, what are we going to do? I remember I rolled up, got out the car. I remember Biff, and he was like leaning against, I don't know, something. He was just outside leaning against a stone wall or something like that. I can't remember what it was, or drinking a cup of tea or something. He looked at me as if like, what the bloody hell's this?
Right. Oh, shit.
There was me in yellow jeans, and stuff, and he was in like Mr. Metal,
Yeah.
like they all were, And,
you were dressed.
My attitude was, I'm not gonna drop an F-bomb, but my idea was, I'll effing show you what's about,
right.
mate.
Right.
That got my back up straight away.
Me and my Susie in the Banshees costume will fucking rock your ass off.
Exactly. Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Awesome. That is awesome.
Oh yeah, exactly. So I got up, and they had another guy there. Well, they had two guys there, and I was sort of waiting for my turn to have a blast, And so I got up and played a couple of songs with them, and I hadn't played double kick for 4 years.
Wow.
I used to play double kick before Toyah, you see.
Okay.
In my first pro band, but I hadn't. Once I got into sessions, it was like, no, we don't want all that, And so we played it, all the stuff, and they said, "Yeah, okay, you're on." And I thought, bollocks. That was my first thing. Yeah.
Didn't expect
Damn
to
it.
get
They
it.
said, "We're going to have one of the other guys that's going to sit behind you," because I said I can only stay a week.
Oh.
If I was due to go into the studio again, there was talk about me and Toyah going in, like Susie did. She did this sort of side project with Budgie, the drummer, called The Creatures, which was just her and drums, basically. So me and Toyah were talking about doing something maybe a bit similar, but I might add a few little keyboard things. We were talking about that. It was like, it wasn't definite, but I said, I can only stay a week. So they said, right, we'll have this other guy behind you, and he'll learn the set for when you have to leave. So I thought, great, okay. First gig was in my hometown, and I'd bought tickets for it.
Before you knew you were going to be in the band.
Yeah.
Wow,
I bought tickets for it.
That
right?
doesn't happen very often.
No, and because I mean, I like the band, so I knew some of the
Sure.
stuff. I mean, not
Yeah.
you know, I was familiar with some of it,
Yeah.
and we went down. So they had we had about 2 days spare days in this gig. So we had the drum kit was up in the dressing room. So I was playing through with, say, Paul and Dobby. So because I had to learn the live endings.
When you say
some of the records faded out.
When you say Dobby, do you mean
Steve Dawson?
Steve Dawson, yeah. Right? Thank you.
There'd be Graham would be there, or whatever, and then we take the drum kit down because Pete Gill had this sort of high percussion kit that was on wheels. It was all like it was like a modular thing. So and then to go down. So I'd learn 4 songs, go down onto the stage. They work out the lights, they play through that, and then back up in the dressing room, learn another. You know, it's like, oh God.
Wow.
Anyway, got through the first gig. That was all right. My first thought was people were going to think, who the hell's this on the drums? Who's that? That's not Pete Gill. You know?
Well, and
but it went all right. I mean, I screwed one thing up, but I don't think anyone noticed.
Yeah. Well, are you? I mean, when you kind of like think about what was going on with Saxon to these stories, which are fantastic, by the way, had Saxon created? I mean, they started in like 78, right? 77.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and so by this time, this is 80-ish, 81?
81.
Yeah,
81.
I mean, that's a handful of years. Saxon has.
Oh, yeah, I mean, this was a big tour. I mean, the Brighton Centre's the big gig here.
You had 3 records out, correct?
4.
4 records. That's what I'm
so basically, I was doing the Denim and Leather tour.
Right.
Peter Peter played on the album, but I was doing the tour.
Right. Okay. So they were a big deal in that area.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Like, no wonder someone would go, no wonder you would think that. Oh, who the hell is this guy on the drums? That's not Pete.
Exactly. Who the hell's this? Where's Pete Gill?
I get it. Yeah.
You know? And the thing was, after that first gig, I never saw the guy who was meant to be learning the stuff behind me. He'd gone.
Well, he probably got intimidated.
I knew exactly what had gone on. Dave, who was the manager, thought, now I'll get Nigel in the band. We'll get him in the band. So he probably pissed this guy off, said, go away.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was all a big plan, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
you've been there ever since. So I guess it worked out.
I've left a couple of times, shall we
say. Yeah.
But I always remember, I mean, the gig we were doing with, oh God, what the hell was it? It was, I'm trying to think of the gig. Anyway, one gig we did, I said, I've got to go. You know, I've got to go. And I was fast asleep in bed in my room. Suddenly the door got kicked in and I woke up and they're all sitting around the end of my bed in the dark and said, look, we want you to join.
Wow.
So I said, F off, I'll tell you in the morning.
You're right. I was going to say, this can't wait till tomorrow.
Exactly.
You're getting them back. You're getting them back for that. Like, hey, wait, no, you know, it's a wait around half an hour. I'm just going to make this look professional, right? Made them wait a little bit.
That was it. And then I went down the next day. We were in Bristol, I think, and said, yeah, okay.
Fantastic.
So you did leave Saxon and obviously came back, but what caused you to leave and then eventually come back? Was that some sort of health situation, or
that was the second time?
The second time. So
yeah, the second time I ripped a muscle between my neck and my shoulder.
Right, and you did some gigs in a neck brace, I think, didn't you?
No. You're getting me mixed up with Alex Van Halen.
Right, I knew he did. So, okay, tell us.
Because I didn't know what I'd done.
So tell us why the reason for the first departure and what time was that?
The first departure was 87. That's when I went and joined GTR.
Okay, all right, and then you came back.
I came back, yeah.
Right. And then how long were you back before you left again?
That would have been 10 years.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I knew there was a 10-year gap at some point.
It was after Unleash the Beast.
Okay. And then one of the interesting things, and I'm probably jumping ahead to your, and correct me if I'm wrong, But one of the interesting things about one of your departures, and I think it was the more recent one when you had the health issue with, I don't know if it's accurate to call it a brain aneurysm, but you had
that wasn't. Oh, I mean, I didn't know there was no departure as such.
That
was at the end of 2014.
Right. So what I'm getting at here is there was a point when Udo Dirkschneider's son filled in for you, and he's worked as your drum tech, I believe.
My drum tech, yeah.
Yeah. So tell us how Sven Dirkschneider came into your life and into the picture and into the Saxon family.
No, I mean, he's just, because a lot of our crew are German.
Okay.
And I think he was putting it about that he wanted to be, maybe he mentioned to our tour manager or whatever, or maybe Udo had or something, because we know Udo really well and everything. And it's only, oh yeah, Sven's going to be. I went, great, okay. So that's how that happened. And then when the brain aneurysm happened, we had I think we had 7 shows left on the tour, and I think the promoter was being a bit ahead of himself, oh yeah, we'll just reschedule for February, and this was December.
Yeah
right, I'm going to be fully fit by then, aren't I? Yeah
right.
And the end result was Sven did them.
Wow.
He knew the songs because he'd been sitting behind me.
Yeah,
he played my kit.
He was your right-hand man. So yeah, he was your.
Yeah, he played my kit. I mean, I got up when they played in London. I went up to the gig, obviously, and then I wanted to have a sit down behind my kit and sound check to see if I could actually bloody play.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I'd been in hospital for a month.
Oh
yeah.
My God.
And
how did it feel?
It was. I'll tell you what the weird thing was. Basically, I was bedridden for a month.
Yeah.
It's your muscles just waste. I mean, out of shape. I literally had to. I had in the room. I had my bag and my clothes on the floor. So I thought, once I got out of bed and sort of I need something like that, I couldn't get up again.
Yeah.
The muscles in my legs are just gone.
So when you
they've really built up. But anyway, so I got back on the drums. We did 747, which is great, and so I did it during the show. So I got up and did 747 during the gig.
Yeah.
Nice.
And the crowd went nuts.
Yeah, it was great, but I couldn't have done any more.
Yeah.
I had to build up again. But I mean, I think by March, April, I was back on tour again.
Fantastic.
That's incredible. And I was going to ask.
The funny thing was that we went later on. We went on tour with Motorhead, and we played in Newcastle, which is where I was in hospital. So I invited the surgeon to the gig.
Yeah.
We had a few beers afterwards, and I said, he said, "You're an effing freak." He said, "I wasn't expecting you to be able to play drums for at least 18 months."
Whoa.
Yeah. And I mean, there was a time when they weren't even sure you were going to make it, let alone play drums.
I was that close to going.
Yeah. He called you a freak of nature for good reason.
He did.
Yeah. And so, so after something like that, it's been a number of years now, but just to bring us up to date, do you have to go for regular checkups to get the all clear, or you're up and running 100%?
I'm up and running.
That's fantastic.
It's I had to go for a while. I had to go and see a local surgeon down here just to check up, and I had to have a CT scan thing, and they pumped oh God, I don't know what the hell it was, some sort of radioactive or some fluid through you.
Yeah.
So they can see where the blood's going. That was the most bizarre feeling ever,
Yeah.
It's
like I'm in this room and they're pumping this stuff into me, which obviously they're not in the room. It's only me. So it's obviously something dodgy.
Yeah.
They're not dodgy, But it's like when you have an X-ray, everyone leaves, don't they?
Yeah.
And wow. I felt the weird thing, right, we're going to start pumping this stuff in now. And I felt it. It was warm.
Yeah.
And I felt it go right around my body, in my mouth, my tongue, everything. It was the most bizarre feeling ever. But I had to go and see this guy, and he said, "No, I'm signing you off now, done, boom."
That's amazing.
Well,
Well,
said, I've got a titanium clip because they went in. So I've got to clip it. I was a bit nervous. I thought it might be like Spinal Tap, going through the X-ray.
can you get through? Do you have trouble getting
the X-ray and going beep and like, come on, then take those trousers off. Then it's metal in them. Beep. I just had visions of me being totally starkers and still going beep.
Yeah, you're wearing your bird suit, walking through.
Yeah. But they said no, titanium won't, so it doesn't set it off. So
yeah. Oh, okay, all right. Well, joking aside, we're thrilled that you made such a miraculous recovery, and not only that you're healthy, but you're back to playing drums and recording and touring and all that good stuff. Yeah. So here's something that I learned about Nigel once we started that we became familiar with each other, that I would have never guessed this. And it turns out Nigel's actually a big New York Dolls fan.
Mm-hmm.
I would have never guessed that. So tell me, how did you discover the New York Dolls?
That doesn't surprise me.
After the talk of Toyah and Susie and the Banshees and that sort of thing, it maybe doesn't come as quite a shock. But Nigel, tell us how you discovered the New York Dolls and what the appeal was, because you're to this day a big fan.
I don't know. I think it was just the sort of. I mean, I love the image of it. I thought the image was just great, But I was into all these sort of, bands like the Stooges, MC5, all that stuff. I just love it, and I still do. To me, I think Funhouse, the second Stooges album, is just dynamite.
Yeah,
I really do. I mean, it's so in your face, but it's brilliant. The production's just great,
Yeah.
And I just got into all these things. There was another, what was the other band? Flaming Groovies, that was another band.
Yeah.
And I just got into all these bands, and the Dolls were great because I just loved the image. And don't forget, I mean, around that time in England, we had like a lot of the glam rock thing was going with Bowie.
Yeah.
And Sweet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sweet were very glam rock and all that mud and everything. And it was all that stuff. So I just loved the image. It was great, And no, I didn't think they were the best musicians in the world, but I just thought what they did was great.
Yeah. Did you ever?
I love that other thing that David Johansen's done. What was it? Buster Point. I love it. Oh God, it's just brilliant.
Hot.
Yes.
Yeah. Hot.
Through the whiskey and the well.
So, have you ever had a chance to meet any of the Dolls? I mean, obviously, most of them are.
I think most of them are dead now, aren't they?
Yeah. But did you ever get to meet Johansen or
David Johansen alive? Isn't there?
David is the only one alive. Yes.
Yeah. No, I've never met them. No.
Yeah.
They were great, but as I say, I was into all these things like MC5. I love MC5.
Yeah.
Those bands kind of changed the playing field.
Yeah, they did. They did.
Absolutely.
They made it. And then after them, in the same sort of way. I mean, they, and then you sort of come into like Grand Funk Railroad.
Yeah.
I sort of equate them as a follow-on from these other sort of bands as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see the transition. I see how that works. I think that the English glam against the American power trio, or the Stooges and the Dolls and the Dead Boys, and the loud rock that was brash and kind of punk but still had some cool hooks. Was important, and they kind of complemented each other very, very much. And that was a very important time for what was to come in the 80s.
And I think, now, let me think, where did Steve Stevens get his image from? Johnny Thunders,
I think.
A whole bunch of people got,
a bit.
Yeah, I mean, a bunch of people got their image from Johnny. We were talking about Nikki Sixx earlier.
Yeah. I mean, Johnny Thunders just looked cool,
Yeah, absolutely. So take us back to your childhood. What was the moment when you got hooked on rock and roll? Where was the aha moment where you went, this is what I want to do?
Oh, well, that, I mean, that this I Want to Do didn't come till a lot later. But I mean, you know, I've got a brother, I've got an older brother, and he was like playing stuff to me, you know, when I was like 6 years old, and I was listening to this stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And it was great. And then he, you know, I was in, we've got a band, there's a band over here at that period, which were like basically the sort of the British version of the Ventures, called the Shadows.
Oh, yeah.
You know, some guitar band, you know.
Yeah.
So I really got into all them, and their drummer, actually, their first drummer, Tony Meehan, was brilliant. And I think he left after the first album. They got another guy called Brian Bennett who was with them till they stopped playing. And I mean, his solo on the second album just floored me. You know, I mean, I was only like 7 years old.
Yeah.
You know, but it absolutely floored me, this thing. You know, I was listening to all this, and so I guess from an early age, I was just listening to music.
What was the first record your older brother played for you that you recall?
Probably Rock Around the Clock, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So
what was that? Bill? Is that Bill Haley?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's from Texas. I think he's from South Texas.
Sure
Really?
is. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, he had all this. He had early Elvis Presley albums.
Oh, great.
And I used to listen to, you know, he had the 45s with I Just Want to Be Your Teddy Bear and all this stuff on. You know, he used to have all that. And I was just listening to that. He had Little Richard stuff.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And that's what got me in. That's what got me into music, because I was just playing this stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How old were you when you got your first drum kit?
Well, it wasn't a proper kit. I got a snare drum and a cymbal when I was 8, I think it was.
Wow.
And then a couple of years later, or a year or so later, I got a bass drum and a tom and a hi-hat. You know, and it sort of went from there. But you know, and I was just listening to everything. I was just soaking it all up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going on musically.
Did you ever go see Slade play live?
No.
Okay.
Funnily enough, we were on, what year was this? We were on a festival in Bulgaria, and Dave Hill and, what's the drummer's name? Anyway, the drum, I can't remember what his bloody name is now. Brain's gone. Anyway, it was Dave Hill's Slade. They were on the bill.
Okay.
For this festival we were on. So.
Wow.
That's cool.
That was quite fun.
Yeah.
But I tell you, who was headlining the festival was Mike and the Mechanics.
Oh.
They were absolutely massive in Bulgaria.
Wow.
Genesis.
When the wall sort of thing came, the communism thing came down.
Yeah.
They were the highest played band in Bulgaria.
And now, Mike and the Mechanics is a spin-off of Genesis, right?
Yes, it's Mike Rutherford's band.
Right. Okay. Yeah. They had a hit or two over here in the States.
Oh yeah.
In the MTV years, I remember.
Funnily enough, the keyboard player on those early singles was Adrian, who was the keyboard player in Toyah.
Ah.
Full circle.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I want to. We'll let you go here soon, because I know you're past your dinner time and we're getting.
Oh,
close.
stop it! There's no rush. Don't worry about it.
Getting close to bedtime now.
Yeah.
But I've been very impressed with the latest albums from Saxon. I mean, you guys have been, you know, since I'd say Call to Arms, Sacrifice, Battering Ram, Thunderbolt was great. I skipped one, didn't I?
No, right, that's it.
Did I get them all? Okay. So your past four.
Good job, Dave.
It's right here, man. So your past. I tell people, and the reason I bring this point up is because, you know, growing up in San Antonio as I did, and continuing to live in Texas, there's a big heavy metal scene in Texas, and especially in San Antonio. Even to this day, it's a little more underground now than it was maybe in the 80s. But I keep telling people that if you were a Saxon fan in the 80s, you owe it to yourself to pick up their latest albums. And the past 4 or 5 have just been fantastic. And if you were a fan of the Wheels of Steel, Power and the Glory, Crusader, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
You owe it to yourself to check out some of these latest albums. And I know that here in the States, there's not the promotional push that there used to be. You're not on the radio. There is no MTV. So a lot of people kind of have lost touch with what's going on and may not even know that Saxon still exists until they see you on tour. And then maybe they think it's just a greatest hits tour. And it's like, no, these guys have been putting out great records.
Yeah. Yeah.
So having said all that, what I wanted to get you to tell us is, out of all the Saxon albums you've played on, number one, which do you think is your best performance? And number two, which one is your sentimental favorite performance regardless?
I think sentimental, it's got to be Power and the Glory.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was my first studio album, and I felt I had something to prove.
Yeah.
Because Pete Gill was well loved, and I thought, right, well, I've got to,
Yeah.
And this will be the first time I'm writing with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that, I think from that point of view,
Power and the Glory. That's my favorite Saxon album.
I think that, I mean, there was some, for instance, but I think from a sort of technique or like drumming wise, I think the actual track Unleash the Beast was like a high point for me.
Yeah.
But because I was just determined in the chorus to do something out there, shall we say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rather than just keeping a beat, I wanted to do something a bit more tribal, which is what it is in the middle. There's all these sort of syncopated rolls and odd accents that I'm putting in that chorus. And plus the fact Unleash the Beast really for me was, I did a lot of writing for Unleash the Beast.
Yeah.
Because it was the first time I'd actually had a sort of writing system at home where I could actually sit down with keyboards and write stuff.
Yeah.
And play it together. Whereas before it was like, well, why don't you try and hum something?
Yeah.
They will change that note in a riff. That's how it used to be, back then.
Yeah.
Well, let's try that. You do a bit of arranging or whatever, but this way I could actually present something.
When you say writing on keyboards, are you writing are you writing riffs? Are you writing sort of palette of verse chorus and showing it to the band?
Both.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
I just write everything that pops into my head. It might only be like 16 bars.
Yeah, sure.
I'll write. I keep everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But because the other thing is, I write library music. So that's for TV and stuff, for documentaries and stuff. So that's,
Oh, I did not know that.
You can do that,
Is that monetarily help?
It does help, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. I mean, you never know where it's going to get used. I just send stuff and they'll go, can you do like 7 tracks like this or in that sort of vein? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so you have like
and then you see if anyone picks it up.
Yeah, you have like an agent that does placement kind of a thing for you?
Yeah, well, there's 2 library companies I work with, so.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
I write stuff with Doug for this as well.
Yeah.
I write on my own with Doug, and then there's another friend of mine who, Roger, who's was the guitarist in my first pro band, so that's full circle again sort of thing.
You keep mentioning your first pro band. What was the name of that band?
Krakatoa.
Oh, right.
The keyboard player was Hans Zimmer.
Who's don't know Hans Zimmer.
That's all the movie soundtracks, like Gladiator and stuff.
Oh, wow.
Right. I see that name on my favorite movies.
Wow. What year was that? What time frame is that?
What, the band?
Yeah.
76 to beginning of 78, I think it was.
Okay. Wow.
Like that. I mean, Hans wasn't in it to start, initially, but we sort of got him in later. But no, I mean, we were doing good. We were kind of trying to think musically what we were really. It was like sort of before I joined them, it was like quite sort of funk, a bit like Rufus with Chaka Khan, that sort of
Oh yeah.
punk
That's
thing.
good
That's
stuff.
what they were really into, because I had a female singer.
You were the drummer for
Yeah,
that project?
yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I wasn't in them initially, and then they asked me to join, and so I went in there, and gradually we've sort of started getting into other sort of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So, but it was crazy, because that was the time when the new wave thing was coming out.
Right.
I mean, we were going out and playing in town halls, you know, say 400 or 500 people, selling them out. We couldn't get a record deal.
Wow. Wow.
Which is crap, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not. It's not supposed to be like that. That means no one was taking you serious, other than the 400 or 500 people that would pack out.
Exactly.
You had a following.
I mean, we were doing great gigs, gig wise. It was brilliant, you know, but you just couldn't. And we were using sort of downtime in the middle of the night at this studio in London called Maison Rouge, which was owned by this guy called Robin Black, who used to produce Jethro Tull and Sabbath and all sorts. So he was doing our engineering and stuff.
Yeah.
And we were doing demos, you know. We couldn't, you know.
So one of the things that people always joke about is, and they've almost put out a petition to bring back the headband. Nigel, of course, was known in the '80s for the headband, and I mean, and I'm wearing the shirt. Let me see.
I see the headband.
Yeah, so this is a shirt that you and your wife. First of all, your wife Gina has a company that makes candles. It's called Evoke Candle Company.
That's it.
And she does. She produces candles that have a theme, and they have different fragrances. And there, obviously, a lot of it is music related. So there's been a Saxon candle. There's been a Motorhead candle. I think there was a Clash London Calling candle.
Yeah, it wasn't it was just a London Calling. That wasn't official. I mean, the Motorhead one, the Saxon ones are official.
Right. Okay. So the shirt is a spin-off of that project, and I want to bring this up because I don't know if there's any more available, but I wanted to let people know that these shirts were out there at a time, and if they're still available, please tell us. But the proceeds from this shirt went right back to is it medical research to help to sort of come up with a cure for the condition that you had?
Yeah, well, I mean, basically, it's Emilia Clarke, you know, the one that played the dragon girl in Game of Thrones.
Right. Okay.
She had 4 aneurysms.
Oh.
So she started this charity.
Okay.
Against that. So all the proceeds from there, because I've had the same thing, all the proceeds from that shirt, and there's a candle as well. All the proceeds go to her charity. Everything goes to her charity.
Well, it's cool. A great shirt, and whenever I wear it, people go, "That's a one of a kind shirt." And then I try to promote the company.
That's a photograph from the inside of the Crusader tour program.
Yeah, and on the back, I'm not going to stand up so you can see it. On the back, it says "Spandex Nige is best.
Best Nige is best Nige."
Yeah. So, which begs the question: is the headband ever going to make a comeback?
No.
Well, I can attest that it was well after the gig in 1982 when I first met you, and I was just a punk. You kept the headband on all night.
Yeah,
it was like your Samsung.
Thing,
you took it off, you weren't Nigel.
The other guys would have their sort of studded bracelet things, studded leather things on here. And I'd have my headband. That was it,
Yeah. Okay. But I'm saying it was hours after you had left the stage, and I have photographs. You still had the headband on. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning, still have the headband on.
No, I started wearing headbands in like bloody. I guess it was a hippie thing actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
In Krakatoa, actually, I was wearing headbands in Krakatoa. There was a period I went through what they call wearing like those floppy baker's caps.
Yeah. Yeah.
Things like that drummer Alphonse Mouzon used to wear in when he used to play with Larry Coryell. I used to love his playing, so I thought, yeah, I want one of those hats. So I used to wear them basically to keep the sweat out of my eyes.
Correct.
Yeah.
And hence the headband came in with a thing and started off, being a bit hippie-ish and stuff. And then I suddenly thought, no, this is working really good.
Yeah, keeping the sweat out of your eyes while you
and
play.
particularly sort of later on when I started wearing contact lenses.
Yeah. Well, a lot of runners wear headband, a sweatband, right?
Yeah. But it was really funny because I did it with Toyah on Top of the Pops, right? Which is like our sort of, our bloody sort of.
Can people find that footage?
You know what Top of the Pops is, don't you?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So I did that, and funnily enough, on the same, I think it was the week before or the week we were on, or something. I think Duran were on.
Wow.
The next time they were on, they were all wearing bloody headbands as well. I was like, what? Where's this come from?
They got it from you, bro.
Started it.
So you bastards.
Can people find the Toyah footage from Top of the Pops on YouTube?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no,
Fantastic.
don't look. No, don't. I was wearing these huge, great earrings like bloody, I don't know, they're like bloody radar dome things or dinner plates.
Wow. So you were a little glammy.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
No, not really. It was just like trying to get a bit of attention, I suppose it was really.
well, a little glammy will do that.
But I'll get you for that.
Well,
and also here's
Jason
the thing.
would know.
I think I would know. So I remember Biff wearing headbands once in a while.
Yeah.
I mean the spandex and the headband with the with the metal.
I mean, don't forget a lot of the sort of American hair bands. Well, the headband thing came in, so kept with it.
I'm guilty. Yeah, I
Why
mean,
not?
everyone. It was kind of like that thing when you're young and you see Judas Priest and Iron Maiden with skinny pants on and shiny pants on, and your idols when you're growing up. You see, it's like in the back of your head, you feel like, okay, well, that's just a trend that I will follow because I don't know what the hell else to wear on stage.
Yeah.
But you had to get used to the fact that they didn't hard rockers shop here for your stage gear. It was like you had to go to your mom's, workout store to buy the leotard pants and the shiny shit,
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Especially
when we were doing, when in the sort of spandex days and you were getting, I sort of tried, it was Dave Lee Roth, I think, was doing it, but some of his stuff was just outrageous. So I thought, right, I need some things like that,
Yeah.
So I was getting them from local dance studios,
Yeah,
Exactly.
See, right, what's the most outrageous pattern you've got,
Yeah. I think David Lee Roth.
I mean, everyone was doing it,
I think David Lee Roth said in an interview that Metal Dave here did. He said it takes sheer confidence to pull that off. Sheer confidence to wear the assless chaps.
Oh God,
Yeah.
I think what he said was, what's more impressive than the garment itself is the confidence it takes to wear it.
There you go. Thank you, Dave.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Leave it to him to come up with the zingers that will stay with you.
Oh, God.
I have something I want to throw at you, and it might be a kind of it may not be important to you, but I feel like our listeners, I want to say that there is a huge following whether they listen to our podcast or not, that are fans of and very influenced by and are mad collectors of anything from the era that I have always felt Saxon has been a part of, and that is the new wave of British heavy metal, going as far as, you could even call it, Venom and the whole Newcastle and Neat Records thing, Venom and Raven and then Diamond Head, of course, and Tigers of Pantang and Persian Risk and so on and so on, Angel Witch, and
I had their first album.
Yes, and so all of these bands that I just mentioned, and Def Leppard in Sheffield, and and they were the only rock band in Sheffield at the time. Everybody else was doing the new romantic or the vampire new wave in late '70s, right? So you think like all of that. After saying all of that, Saxon is part of that. I even say UFO and Thin Lizzy are part of that, but they might have even been like earlier because they're like 73, 4, 5, right?
Yeah, they were earlier, definitely.
Yeah, they were earlier. So when someone from like Sounds magazine, I believe, coined it as, the new wave of British heavy metal,
I have a feeling that was Jeff Barton, I think.
I think that you're right. And I think he mentioned in a sentence after he coined that was Angel Witch, Motorhead, and maybe Diamond Head. I'm not quite sure. I don't have it memorized, but I feel like Saxon as a band were around. Of course, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest was a part of that, but yet again, earlier they were like
a bit earlier.
They were grandfathering all of this, right? The Sabbath, and then the Zeppelin, and then the Priest, and then the Maiden, and then But I feel like Saxon is a big player in all of this that doesn't really seem sometimes that you guys get lumped in. Do you feel like you guys were a definite part of the movement?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
I feel so strongly, but I don't. But I'm just saying. I'm not saying anything good or bad about it. When you hear about, they usually mention 5 or 6 of the bands I just mentioned, and only sometimes it's Saxon. Usually at the top of the heap is, the Diamond Head and the, Status Quo might have even been earlier. They were earlier, weren't they?
Oh yeah, they were.
Yeah, big time earlier. Okay, so. But I mean, it was a movement.
I mean, Motorhead were as well, really.
Yeah,
I mean,
early. Yeah.
First Motorhead album, I think, was 76. I think it was, wasn't it? 76, 77.
You're right, which was like an immediate switch over from Limb from Hawkwind. He's just like overnight. I've got a band Motorhead, and I need some guys, and
yeah.
So I'm glad that you feel, of course, that Saxon is a giant.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure Biff and Paul think that as well. Yes. Definitely.
Yeah, I just think that the sound you guys were doing and your camaraderie with Priest and Motorhead and Maiden is enough to punch a flag in the earth and say fuck yeah. Because
the band definitely was part of that. That was, as far as Jeff Barton was concerned. Yeah, we were in there.
Yeah, and that is just a big deal, and I just wanted to kind of like say cheers to that and to the band, and I'm really happy to call you a friend, Nigel.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah,
there's no question that Saxon is a huge part of not only the new wave of British heavy metal, but I mean, just ask Metallica. I mean, they basically were a key band that shaped the future of heavy metal moving forward. I don't think there's not a speed metal, thrash metal band out there today that doesn't have some Saxon records,
And they were introducing, just like me and my friends down here, they were, Lars's record collection is what I like to call it. That punk kid was introducing, he came over from Holland and was, or Copenhagen, I guess, and was introducing everyone on the West Coast to whoever would listen to Diamond Head and Saxon and Motorhead and all that stuff. So I really feel like there were these waves in America that were picking up on that in a fairly quick fashion, as early as 79 and 80.
Yeah.
So fantastic. Fantastic stuff. Changed my life.
I want to say in closing, I want to reiterate the last 4 or 5 Saxon albums. If you haven't heard them, you owe it to yourself to check them out. Call to Arms. I'm going to try and recite this list again. Call to Arms, Sacrifice, Battering Ram, Thunderbolt, Am I there, Nigel? Did I cover them all?
Yeah, you got the last 4, yeah.
And then there's the Inspirations album, which is the covers album that just recently came
which
out.
has surprised a lot of people, actually.
Yeah, that's worth a listen as well.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Anyone listening that stopped listening to Saxon after the Crusader record or the Unleash the Beast record, you're missing out. Go check out some of these the latest records. And stay tuned for a new album coming, as Nigel says, in January, February of next year. Fingers crossed. We're looking forward to that. And you know what? We're mostly looking forward to you touring. We miss you here in the States. We want you to get back here and melt our faces as soon as possible. And hopefully COVID is taking a step back and will allow for that. So
yeah, I hope so. I mean, thank God, I've been over there a couple of times this year.
Yeah, I know. And I hope you're coming back again soon, not only for a visit, but for a tour and bringing a new album with you. So I'll leave it at that. Jason, you got anything else you want to add? I want to thank you, Nigel, for joining us. It's been a pleasure, always a pleasure. I always enjoy the conversation.
Thank you for asking me, guys. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Metal Dave signing off on behalf of my co-host Jason McMaster and our very special guest. More cowbell. Our very, very special guest. Can't thank you enough, Mr. Nigel Glockler, the drummer for Saxon. Thank you for listening.